to Life Coaching on the Move. I'm your host, Dawn Fiske, life coach, trainer and speaker. Welcome along. For those of you who are new, this is like a little life coach in your pocket kind of approach. Just little life lessons, life hacks I think the youngsters call this. Tips, techniques, strategies on a variety of subjects, but all aiming to make you stronger, make you much more confident. That's the overall aim here. I'm a confidence coach, amongst other career coach, etc. But I do believe passionately in us all becoming more confident. It is the make or break of everything that we do or don't do, is down to how much confidence and self-belief we have. If we can all grow our confidence and self-belief, we will therefore necessarily welcome more opportunities, get ourselves out there, achieve more, feel happier, healthier, better mental health, etc. So welcome along. And to all of my regular listeners, it's great that you've come back. Thank you. I am truly grateful to you all. I do know that there are many, many other podcasts out there you could listen to, and you've chosen this one, so thank you. For those new ones of you, you will hear that I'm walking along. I actually sometimes record these outside, walking my dog in the woods, because it's where I'm most relaxed, most creative. I do not edit these or script write or anything, talk from the heart. And when I'm out in the woodlands with my dog, it's where I'm most, I think most, and I come up with most of my ideas, and my brain flows so much better. And it is a truly gorgeous morning today. No wind, no rain, lots of wildlife around that she's chasing, and the sun is shining. Even though we are virtually in November, it's gorgeous. So I thought I would share it with you today on a dog walk, and hopefully inspire you guys all to go out for just keep going outside. Vitamin D, fresh air, as you all know, my regular listeners, is my passion. So I hope that sometimes as I'm out here walking with the dog, it inspires you to put your wellies on, coat on, gloves, and get outside yourself and be out with nature, feel the benefits that I love it, absolutely love it. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this week's subject and episode. So today you're joining me on a gorgeous morning. When I say a gorgeous, I mean in comparison to what it was yesterday. Yesterday was an absolute shocker. Terrible stair rod rain, hideous. Today is a Sunday morning at the time of recording. Gorgeous. Dog killing all the... No, she's not killing. She's clearing all the pheasants. And it's nice and frosty. Gorgeous morning. So welcome to my dog walk. There's a couple of things I wanted to cover today, actually. First, I wanted to share something that I've done this last week or two. I wanted to share it for a reason, though. First of all, I'm feeling very proud of myself today, because we've talked about getting out of our comfort zones in previous episodes, and how healthy it is to do that, healthy it is to step out a little bit or a lot and stretch your comfort zone, because once it's been stretched once, a little bit like blowing up a brand new balloon, once you've blown it once and deflated it, it's always stretched. You can't unstretch it. You can't take that away. So once you've got out of your comfort zone once and done that thing once, whatever it is, first is always worst and hardest. No one can take that away from you. Your comfort zone is now bigger. And the more we expand our comfort zone, or our prison, we've talked about that before, the wider our horizons, the bigger our strength and self-belief, the better we feel about ourselves, the more likely we're to do other things, the higher our confidence is and our self-belief, not to mention our enjoyment from life, our interest to other people, etc. There's so many benefits to us for expanding our comfort zone, particularly in terms of confidence growth. So I wanted to share with you this week, I and my friend took our two sons, who are best friends, down to, across to Wales, North Wales, and despite me being absolutely petrified, if you've listened to my story about the flying trapeze a few years ago, where I overcame that internal dialogue, that internal jailer that told me I don't like or I'm frightened of heights, I overcame that and did a flying trapeze. I did that once, and now I'm able to do things that would previously have petrified me. I went on to do another zip wire. After that, a seated zip wire in New Zealand a few years later. Equally petrified, but I knew I could do it. This week, I haven't had the opportunities to do them. I'm still scared of heights, don't get me wrong. This week, we took the boys to Wales to the fastest zip wire and longest, I think, in the world. You go 116 miles an hour for 55 seconds over a mile or something like that. I can't remember the distance, but I know you're doing 116 miles an hour, led down, belly down in this weird harness. And it was, in equal measure, terrifying and fantastic. Absolutely fantastic experience. Great thing to do. Once it was done, not so much a few minutes before. I can definitely assure you that. But I had to do it because he is not 17. He's under 17. It was his birthday treat. And if they're under 17, the adult has to do it as well. You're on separate zip wires, or side by side, 4 of you, but you have to go with them. So truly exhilarating, truly great fun. Magnificent for growing your self-belief and your confidence. I feel like I've gone up about 20 levels in terms of self-belief, and what I now feel ready to take on. I still, this was 2 days ago, still on a real high, still dead proud, and still have this little voice in my head saying, what's the next thing, bring it on, kind of feeling. It's banked, it's now in my bank. I can draw on that when I have a moment of self-doubt. Come on, I can do this, I did that. Kind of feeling. So what I wanted to say was all of this stuff is work in progress for me too. It's work in progress for us all. Becoming confident or being confident is not a destination. It never stops. Growing never stops. Personal development, confidence, all of this, getting better carries on and on and on and on. We never stop. And I work on all of this that I talk about on the podcast on a daily basis myself. In fact, actually just recording the podcast, I'm working on it, because when I hear myself say it to you guys, I'm also saying it to my own subconscious, and it's hearing all of this, and it's a little pep talk for me too. So I wanted to share that moment of pride and huge achievement for me. Just to sort of say to you, keep going, keep doing it, bring on those opportunities, don't stop, don't feel you've got there now. Constantly push yourself, constantly get out of your comfort zone, whether it's tiny ones, making that call that you don't want to make because you're a bit fearful of what their reaction is going to be, or asking the boss for something, you're not sure how they're going to react, maybe pay rise or to change your hours or something like that. But what's the worst that can happen? So the more confidence building things you do, the more you are then likely to have that conversation and ask for reduced hours, or can you work from home, or can you have a pay rise, or whatever. They're not small, actually. They're significant, because that can be quite life-changing if it's a work-life balance you're trying to achieve, or to see the children more. Nearly fell then, didn't? Or whether it's better pay and you can pay your mortgage and things. They're big. So let's not underestimate any of them. The second way I got out of my comfort zone in the last 10 days or so was the same friend. She's very good at bringing these experiences to my way. Suggested we just last minute, a few days before, sign up for a half marathon we'd not done before down in Chichester. It's a trail half marathon. We'd never done it before. We didn't really know the route, and neither of us really, certainly me, she had done a little bit more training. We're not physically ready. We had not trained enough. We weren't ready. We've done half marathons together before, but we've trained for them. This one we really hadn't. We'd done some, but nowhere near enough. Physically nowhere near ready. But mentally we were out of our comfort zone because we didn't know the route. The reviews all said this is a route not for the faint-hearted. There was lots of talk of a hill called the Trundle. Seems to have a terrible reputation for being a horrible, horrible hill, which it is. But once it's out of the way, it's fine. And so we decided, look, what's the worst that can happen? we can run half of it and perhaps walk the rest if we're struggling, if we're physically really stretching ourselves and we're in pain. We'll just walk and enjoy it. So that was the approach that we took, and we did it, and we had a great time. And actually, I wasn't planning to say this, but I think I will, because why not? What I decided in my head I would do, and I shared it with her, but I didn't share it with anybody else. I decided what I'm going to do, my approach is going to be that I'm going to dedicate a mile, each separate mile, to a different person that has inspired me hugely in my life, for one reason or another, close to me. Somebody that I love and who has inspired me for a particular reason. I will dedicate that to them in that whole mile, and the whole mile that I'm running, I will just spend time thinking about them and what they brought in my life, why they mean so much to me, or meant so much to me, for those that I had lost, because I dedicated 1 mile to my mum and her fight with cancer, and how dignified and strong, how she coped with it. One to my dad, who we lost a few years ago to a heart attack, but who had been suffering badly with dementia, and I was one of his carers with my sisters, and so on. So I did that throughout, and my friend at regular intervals would say, "Who is this mile to?" She knows, she's known me for years, and I would explain who and why, and it was incredibly uplifting. I actually finished a 13-mile run, physically tired, but feeling great. Not only because we got ourselves out of the comfort zone again, and we pushed ourselves hard, and we had done it, and we had thoroughly enjoyed it. The weather had, despite the forecast, had been brilliant. The route was a great route, but because I'd spent those 2 hours or so thinking of all the good that had been in my life, been or still is in my life, and why they inspire me. And if you think about people that inspire you and why they inspire you, it actually is really inspiring for you. So I took loads from it, and you know, it's infectious. People that inspire us is infectious. So because I was thinking of how incredibly strong my mum was with coping what she coped with, and how giving she was, and how dignified, and just everything that she brought to that terrible end. You know, you're relearning all of those. That's inspiring you over and over again. So I did that, and so emotionally felt like I'd had a massive recharge, a massive boost, and that has continued. That was maybe 2 weeks ago. So on the one hand, got ourselves out of the comfort zone, felt dead proud, which is, as I've said just a second ago, really, really important that we continue to do that for so many reasons, for our confidence and self-belief. And the other, for spending time thinking about those people that mean or have meant so much to us, and why. And that actually may be a key takeaway from today for you. You don't have to run in order to do it. It might be that you go out for a long walk by yourself and think about all those people and why. Or you just do it in a long car journey when you're stuck on the M6, as I was on Friday night coming back from North Wales for hours. Just spend time mulling that over, because otherwise our mind goes sometimes to horrible places, or miserable places, or you know, not such helpful places. So that is definitely an activity worth doing when you have got some time on your hands. It really, really boosts you. I've not done it before in such a concerted effort. You might randomly be thinking about somebody, but just spending a good 10 minutes or so, spending time thinking about that person, then consciously moving on to the next inspiring person in your life, and then the next, and you take so much out of that. It's such an uplifting experience to do. You feel grateful for all of those people, but actually you take lessons from them without realising. And now, you know, I'm taking the lesson to be more dignified in anything that I'm coping with, stronger, etc. For 13 different people that I spent time thinking about. So I had not planned to say that today. I've gone off a tangent, or off-piste, if it was skiing, I suppose. And it is definitely worth doing. I really recommend it. I'm stuck in lots of brambles now. That are the two things that I wanted to share today. the other topic that I was going to share with you today. Slightly different, but connected in a sense. If there's one thing I would recommend that you listen to, it's a podcast by Simon Mundy. I have mentioned it before. Simon Mundy, Mundie, called Don't Tell Me the Score. It's about sport, but it's not. You don't have to be sporty. It's about how sport is a metaphor for life and how you can take key lessons from it. And the one that I was listening to that inspired me was last week's episode. A chap he's interviewing called Lewis Pugh, a British guy, Pugh, P-U-G-H. You can probably look him up. I think there's all sorts of talks, TED Talks from him, all sorts of YouTube video. He is an incredible guy. I'd never heard of him actually. Let me just give you a quick resume though. Lewis Pugh has managed to swim across pretty much most oceans, including the Arctic, the Antarctic. Freezing conditions, incredibly freezing conditions, dangerously so. I mean, his life is under threat so many times. But the fact that he's done this so many times in so many oceans, in just Speedos, I would add, no dry or wetsuit, he's done those conditions where you have to listen to the interview. It's definitely worth a listen. It was the interview I listened to on the way to Wales before I did the zip wire. And my God, did it give me courage. He's talking about courage, and he has to have courage, and how courage is infectious. So he surrounds himself by a courageous team. He has no one on his team that has any fear. Anyone that shows any signs of fear around him, because he equally says fear is infectious, he throws them off the team. He can't have them around him. He needs courageous people around him, and he surrounds himself with those sorts of people. But that's all a side issue really to the reason why he does it. He doesn't do it to say, look at me, look at what I can do, aren't I brave? He does not do it for that reason at all. He's solely doing it to bring to attention to the politicians around the world the issue of climate change and global warming. He was talking about, I think it was the Antarctic, or the Arctic. He did sometime around 2003, I think, 2004, something like that. He did the first time, and the water was 3 degrees. He did it 10 years or so later, and it was then 10 degrees. That's how much the water temperature is rising, and he is profoundly passionate about it, deeply concerned about it, and does these swims because he says to the politicians that if he is courageous enough to do those swims, they as a government need to be courageous enough to face the issue and make some drastic changes. And that just it's a great interview. You need to listen to it if you can. But I keep thinking about him. He's been playing on my mind lots since I listened to that, because so inspirational. So one, it will give you inspiration to tackle anything because I just keep drawing on it. My God, if he can do that, I can do this surely. So it's been incredibly useful personally for that. But what I took out of it was, and the interview Simon Mundy said, but couldn't you just, for your own safety, wear a dry or wetsuit? I mean, at one point he describes he's swimming one of the areas, and he can literally feel his fingertips freezing in the water. It's so dangerous. He knows how dangerous it is. He talks about the fine line between fear and absolute panic, and he can't panic. He can't, because he's already struggling so much to get breath and keep his heart going and everything. He cannot go into panic. And he talks about the power of the mind over the body. He talks about how you can't let your mind go to those places of fear and fright, because at any moment he knows that a leopard seal can come out and get him, literally drag him and have him for breakfast. Polar bears. His life is in danger, not just because of the terrible temperatures, but for so many other reasons. And although he was born in Plymouth in the UK, he has spent much of his life in South Africa, and he trains at night off the coast of Cape Town or wherever, at night in the dark. And he says he knows any shadow in the water, he knows in his head could be a great white shark, but he knows statistically it's unlikely. So he has to control his mindset and not let his mind go to, is that a great white shark beneath me? He has to really, really control his mind. So it's some great things on there about how we control where we want to put our thoughts, where we want to let into our head, how we control with our head all our bodily reactions, calming ourselves down, calming the panic down, calming the breathing down, and the heart rate, etc. And the fact that he does it because of his passion for the climate. And that is what I wanted to talk about today, because I spend a lot of time talking about our mindset, and so too did he, don't get me wrong, and I think it is hugely important. You know that from what I've said before. I know it's hugely important. But what I haven't spoken to you about much is our heart set. What did your heart tell you? Because he does these walks because of his passion about the planet. And when I work with clients, it's so often about, and when I was telling you just about dedicating the mile to everybody, it's about getting in tune with our heart set as well. What is in our heart? What is our passion? What fires the light in our belly? What do we believe in? I know, especially youngsters, because I've got a 17-year-old, I see lots of his mates and my friends' 17-year-olds, because they all grew up together. And this young generation is very, very passionate. It's very encouraging to see how passionate they are. You know, one of my friend's daughters is a vegan now because she's passionate about the planet and trying to save the planet for her children and her children's children. And it's great to see. And so although I talk a lot about the mindset, I suppose my takeaway from today is don't overlook your heart set as well, because this guy's heart set is so strong and so in tune with him and he with it, that it's making him do these incredible feats to make a difference in the world. And if we can get in tune with what's in our heart set and we can find a passion, it again can be the platform to lift us to another level. I have wanted to do this podcast for a long time. But there was this self-doubt in my mind, you know, once it's out there, people will judge me, kind of worry. And I hear this a lot in clients, yeah, but what will people think? What will people say around that meeting table if I speak up? What will my boss think? What will the audience think if I present badly, etc., etc.? I'm going for an interview, yeah, but I might be rubbish. Maybe I won't apply. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, all of those worries, the what-ifs. But if we can really get in tune with our heart set and it fires us with passion, that will help us overcome it. I sometimes think about, you know, when these tragic events where you see parents that have lost children or they've gone missing, you know, or someone's gone missing, and you see them talk in front of all the press and the cameras, and then they go on to campaign afterwards. They often say, you know, they would never have stood up and done a speech in front of Parliament or a speech in front of all the UK press or cameras. You know, they were just normal, everyday people like you and I, going about our business, that gets nervous talking in front of a big crowd, etc., etc. But once that emotion has kicked in because they've been through such a tragedy and it has fired them up and they've got in touch with their heart set, that the head shrinks down and the fears of I can't speak to the press and I can't talk outwardly to people, what will they think, all goes, because that heart set, it becomes massive and takes over. And they can do it, they've got the confidence, they can look the cameras in the eye and talk to the nation and appeal to people and get changes in laws and make massive differences in the world. because they've had to, they haven't wanted to, something awful has happened, but the heart then has taken over. So I think the two work together. Sometimes one's the stronger one, sometimes the other. But we haven't talked about it, so I wanted to say today, what's in your heart that fires you up, that gives you passion, that gives you a big purpose. So when I was worried about doing the podcast and to sort of self-coach, talk myself around to it, it is frightening. You do put it out there, and you're going to be judged, and some people aren't going to like it. Or if you write something, a blog, or you put something up, it's going to be open to judgment. There's some cruel people in the world that just loves to slate people and be negative and nasty and vile in that way, and can be really very hurtful and damaging, and seem to get something out of that. But I was talking to a client recently who he too has, we were talking about perhaps him doing a podcast or putting stuff out there with his passion. It's not coaching, it's another subject, but again, it was the worry of being perhaps judged. What if people what if people comment and it doesn't live up to their expectations? But as I was saying to him, none of us are ever going to be liked and approved by everybody, and that is actually okay, and that is right. My website and my coaching is not going to appeal to everybody looking for a coach. It's not, because I will take a certain approach that appeals to certain people, certain market, and that's great. Others will hate it. They'll hate my voice, or they hate my hand actions, or my philosophies and my style. That want it to be much more corporate, or make notes and da-da-da-da. And that's fine. I'm not out there for everybody. I'm out there for the right people. And it's okay and it's safe to not be liked by everybody, not be approved by everybody, and not appeal to everybody. No one can at all. Even the best people were or are not liked by everyone, and that's fine. I just want to say that to you. It doesn't matter if you're not liked by everybody. A friend's daughter's just gone to university and she's struggling. She's not getting on with everybody. But that's all right. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be liked by everybody. If we try to do that, we are setting ourselves up for failure and upset. If we accept, it's fine. It's safe. They don't like me, so be it. These people do. That's great. I really like them. Sit comfortably in that. It's very freeing and very empowering. So why do I do the podcast? And eventually, how did I overcome that? Well, it was the acknowledgement that it's fine. It's fine not to be liked by everybody. It's fine for somebody to tune into this, listen to it for 2 minutes and think, oh, God, that's rubbish, and go. That's absolutely fine. It's safe. I don't mind that. What makes me do it is the overriding heart set that if it helps just one or two people at some point, then it's been worth it. That has been worth the risk, that has been worth the vulnerability. If it makes a difference to one person, then it was worth it. And I think that's what, on a much larger scale, Lewis Pugh has decided. He knows he could die. It's a very, very strong possibility that it would happen where he is, putting himself on the places that he's swimming. But he knows that his heart set and his passion, it's worth it. There's a massive risk for him, but he's prepared to take that risk in the full knowledge. So if it lights the fire in your belly, then you will overcome other fears and anxieties and doubts, and it will propel you forward, lift you to that next level. So there's various key takeaways from this podcast today. It's keep going with getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Look for opportunities, grab them to really get yourself out. Small ones are brilliant, but occasionally some big ones really, really put you up a massive amount of steps, and you can draw on that continually for weeks and weeks and maybe months and months later, because you've really challenged yourself. You found out what you're made of, and it's great to have that in your bank, mentally. Also spend time thinking about those people that inspire you and why. It doesn't have to be loved ones around you. It can be people like this one. I don't know him at all, never met him, don't even know what he looks like. I was listening to it on a podcast, and he has hugely inspired me. And the third one is to get in tune with your heart set. What is your passion or passions, beliefs? What really inspires you? That you can use to inspire you, to put you up another level, to override your fears and worries, to give you bigger purpose, to push you forward. Because there can be small things or big things. But we do need to get in touch with our heart set as well. And sometimes, at times, focus less on the thoughts and more on the heart and the feelings. Or they work together, hand by hand, and as a team. So that's the key takeaway. I'm going to carry on doing that myself for the next week. The only admin side of things, good luck. Take that all on board. Let me know if you have any profound realizations or thoughts. Share them with me on Dawn at milestone-coaching.co.uk. If there is any topic at all you would like me to cover, then also drop me an email. This will be going out in a couple of weeks because I record in advance. I am currently at the end of October, early November. So by the time this goes out, I suspect there will be soon vouchers up on the website for sale. If any of you, and I will try and push this back so I'm not talking about the C word too early, but if any of you are Christmas shopping soon and you've not got any ideas for yourself to ask for from loved ones, if they're saying, what would you like for Christmas? Or for you to buy for loved ones, then maybe coaching, 3 coaching sessions might be a lovely, lovely gift to give them, because it can change quite a lot for them actually. It can be, pivotal, and it might mean that they can start next year on a high, focus, with goals, determination and strong. So they can start the new year from a great base to have a great year. And that may well be a good gift idea. So I suspect I will be putting vouchers up for buy 3 coaching sessions for the price of 2. Keep your eye out on the website if that is appealing to you and your Christmas shopping list, one way or the other. I think that's everything. Have a great, great week. Be really confident. Push yourselves. Only you can push yourselves, and it's definitely worth it. And share your experiences with me. Speak to you next time.